3, 2, 1. So Tom, what are some specific challenges carriers face offering consumers new products and services?
Yeah, so I guess the good news from the survey was that actually clients, consumers put a lot of trust in telcos when it gets to the more confidential things. Who do you trust your personal data to? They actually trust the personal data quite a bit to the telcos, and much more to them than to social media. Then to your question, so what consumers see telcos do is offering them thermostat services, security services in the house, connected car kind of services. Now, for them to do that, they would need to partner with the client. Now, they have a tradition of actually running a network, running shops, offering services, creating services all by themselves. So to work with a partner and then make an agreement on who is actually defining the proposition, who is actually servicing this proposition, how do we share the money that we get from this proposition, that's not a thing that they have a long history in doing, and that's one of the challenges, I guess, that they have in getting really into this space.
And then what role does your division within Accenture play in helping carriers accelerate or enable some of these products and services?
Yeah, so I would say there's 3 areas. So one thing is actually that this survey result, but there's other research that we do, sort of encourages them to actually go into this route and gives them the confidence and sort of looks at how they can be successful. I think the other 2 is that, well, one of the ways to get into this third-party services offerings, many of those are actually apps, and opening up information, whether it's client information, whether it's billing information, whether it's location-based information, so opening that information from the telco and giving it to, well, app providers, to allowing that to use that in their apps is one thing where we help telcos. How can you do that in a secure way, in a reliable way, in a fast way, in a technology, you could say future-proof way? So that's more the technology angle of it. And then the third element is more around how do you actually select partners that you want to work with? What are the interesting places where you want to put a bet, and who are the interesting companies to work with? Then how do you actually do onboard them? What are terms and conditions, potential revenue share models that you should apply in order to be successful together? So we also work on that third item together with them.
And how would you compare and contrast some of those hot spots where they should be focusing when you look around the world, Asia versus Europe versus North America? Are you seeing just similar products and services recommended across the board, or are you seeing certain products and services get more traction in one region versus another?
It's a good question. I think many of the services are actually pretty similar. So if you take a look at sort of where they partner when it gets to offering services for big companies, it's around cloud, it's around security, it's around device management. If you think about the kind of services that they offer to consumers, it's about video, maybe specific content, over the top, Netflix, Spotify kind of services, or applications which are interesting around payments. So I think it's pretty similar. Some companies are better in some places than others. Verizon is doing more in the healthcare. Some other clients are doing more into security. But if you would take the full array, and by the way, we took the full array and we sort of marked it, and we found that basically all telcos, whether it's in Asia Pacific, North America, South America or Europe, are more or less looking at the full spectrum, at the same spectrum of services to offer into the market.
And how do you help the operators compete with the over-the-top guys? I mean, there's been some big announcements this week about over-the-top guys and really pushing the carriers into spaces they perhaps would have gone eventually, but they're having been forced to go sooner than later.
So I think this ties back to the very first question where we spoke about, so consumers actually trust telcos with, for example, personal data much more than they trust social media companies. Secondly, if you look at where a telco is when it gets to security services, when it gets to in-car, or when it gets to thermostat services, actually telcos are on the top 2, top 3 preferred providers in each of those. And then if you think about the fact that actually more than 80% of consumers is struggling to get those things integrated, there is a very logical role for a telco to play. Many telcos are actually local. They have local shops, they have local field service technicians who can help them. They have a local language call center who is able to sort of integrate and help them with a full solution, not just with a point solution. They have a billing relationship every month. It's very natural that they collect extract money from their clients. They have a trusted brand position. So our idea is to really build on those assets, build on those strengths, and then combine it with what so far they haven't done really well, but what the Netflixes and the over-the-top players have done better is use the data to be very specific in what you propose, to whom, via which channel. They have a ton of information about the user, about the usage, exploiting that more and connecting that to their strong, I would say, brand permission and locality. That is where we believe that they should be playing and able to compete.
Perfect.